we interrupt this presentation with the following urgent message.
Tonight, America is in grave danger. We are under alien attack by a popular dessert known as the Stuff.
Here, Jason, take some.
No, don't eat that. There is something alive in there.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Good morning.
This lovely morning, we will be discussing the horror classic, The Stuff, starring Michael Moriarty, Garrett Morris, Paul Sorvino. It's a crazy all-star. Danny Aiello. It's a crazy all-star cast.
It's fantastic. Sweet. But before we delve too far into that, I have to tell you, yesterday I went to the movies by myself at the 11:15 showing to see The French Dispatch, the latest Wes Anderson film, and it was amazing. And there was actually a bunch of people there. Usually I'm the only one that sees anything artsy in this hellhole of a town. But there was tons of people. People were laughing. Go see The French Dispatch. And if you don't like Wes Anderson, I don't know, jump off the roof because there's something wrong with you. Hospitalize yourself, see a doctor, you son of a bitch.
Well, I better get on the phone then because I run really hot and cold with Wes Anderson. I remember when I first saw the Royal Tenenbaums, I didn't like it that much. Later it kind of grew on me.
This is a masterpiece.
People loved it. Oh yeah, you're one of those people.
Oh, hardcore.
Typically, I find them odd in kind of an uninteresting way. Spoiler alert.
I don't even know what to say to you. I will say some of the more popular ones are not my favorite. Bottle Rocket, not my favorite.
Steve Zissou.
Oh my God, that's a masterpiece. So
I hated Steve Zissou.
Shut the hell up. I can't even talk to you. I didn't like Moonrise Kingdom that much, and I didn't like Rushmore that much. But the rest are bang.
They're bang. Well, thank you. So that's Aaron's recommendation. Rush out and see French Dispatch.
Tell me more about frickin' Bruce Willis, you son of a...
That'll be our next episode. So give us your 30-second synopsis of The Stuff.
Okay, The Stuff. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. So we open up in some kind of mine at night, and I don't know, Gabby Hayes walks up to a pile of fluff on the ground, takes a big scoop, and as one does, immediately shoves it in his mouth to taste it. That's pretty good. And just starts gobbling it. Then he calls Boxcar Willie, who also is at the mine in the middle of the night, taste it. He's like, okay. All of a sudden, everybody's eating this white fluff. Everybody. And then we find out there may be some side effects to it. Apparently, it moves independently. Whoa. It's like the Blob, but it eats you from the inside, and then it doesn't kill you. It just makes you hollow, but then you come back. I'm a little confused about purpose, why, what is actually happening. But at the end, Earth wins, maybe.
Question mark? Who's to say? Now, when did you first, not the audience, when did you first hear of The Stuff?
Oh, that's very simple. I was staying in a hotel room with you and your wife during one of our sisters', I don't know, her 50th or 75th birthday. I don't know.
75th.
And your wife was not feeling well. So I don't know. She just rolled over and then we were just sitting there watching movies late into the night while she tried to sleep. Sound about right?
That was the first time you even heard of it? You'd never heard of it before that?
Never heard of it. Never seen it. Looks like it was made for TV in 1982.
I remember commercials for The Stuff back in the 80s, and all I remember about it was I thought it was like The Blob.
Right.
And Garrett Morris was in it.
That's all I knew. It's kind of like The Blob. And by the end, it started to have more blob qualities, but it's like a blob you can eat. And I was so obsessed watching it. I'm like, oh, that tastes like that whipped marshmallow stuff. I'm sure of it. It's like, it kind of looks like thick. Sometimes it looks like yogurt. Sometimes
Whip.
it looks like Cool Whip, but sometimes I imagine that it is that. What is that? That spreadable marshmallow.
Yeah, it's like a marshmallow spread, right? Isn't that what it's
Marshmallow
called?
fluff or something like
Marshmallow
that.
fluff. That's what it is. Yes.
I imagine that that's what it is, but it's clearly addictive. And then it's like no fat, no calories, and it's so delicious, and it's good for you. I probably would have a container of that in there too.
Right. Well, you're right when you say that it's kind of ill-defined because it's alive. It's clearly alive. If you eat some of it, you're like immediately addicted to it.
Right.
And you have to have more. Now, at some point when you're eating it, it kind of takes you over and you become kind of a stuff zombie to a certain, they call them stuffies in the movie for some reason. And then I guess then it kind of compels you to continue eating it, but to get other people to eat it as well.
Is it like a tapeworm? You can't poop it out?
I guess not. I don't. And then eventually you're kind of used up by it and just left as like a puddle
shell.
of, right. And that's the end of you. So it's like,
but hang on, Kevin. I don't know if it's the end because they had that dude at the gas station who was all hollowed out and the stuff ran away. Well, then he wiped his mouth and got back up.
He did.
So,
but other people,
what the
Garrett
hell's
Morris,
going on? I mean, he
Right.
basically his own weight and marshmallow fluff poured out of him,
right?
and he popped back up.
I can't explain it. Now it seems as though, because like you said, the old prospectors at the mine mistaking it for it could have been literally industrial waste they were shoving into their mouth. Who the hell knows?
It's a
Aftertaste.
mine. There's toxic waste everywhere. Why would you
Absolutely.
scoop something up and shove it in your mouth? Oh, here's some old gum. Here,
I wouldn't
don't
even
know.
touch it.
Is this a Snickers or a dog turd? Let me find out.
Right. I mean, you wouldn't even touch it if it was a normal person in real life. Instead, this guy not only picks it up, touches it with his bare hand, sniffs it, and then starts eating it. And encourages his friend, his other old prospector friend, to join in on the fun. But it seems as though the people who actually own the company are not under the influence of the stuff. They're just greedy entrepreneurs, is what we're supposed to think.
I think we find out at the end they know exactly what's going on. That's
do.
why they refuse to eat it. But they're okay because it's corporate greed. They're okay with everybody else.
That's exactly right. It's basically they're not under the control of the stuff. They're doing it for strictly, capitalist, evil means. Like they're not possessed or anything. So much so that they don't want to eat it. When he comes in at the end of the movie, the hero, quote unquote, shows up with crates of the stuff and makes the CEOs of the company eat it at gunpoint, and they don't want to. So who the hell knows?
Well, I find it interesting. So we at the beginning, you meet Michael Moriarty, who's an industrial spy hired by the ice cream company because no one's eating ice cream because they're eating the stuff. But later on, we meet famous Amos, or as they call him in the movie, Chocolate Chip Charlie. So
vaguely offensive name for him, by the way.
Chocolate Chip Charlie. So why is he involved? Because people are not eating their chocolate chips either? Is he secretly a spy?
What happens with
him? Why do we trust him?
Why we don't? So you're right. You've got Mo Rutherford, played by Michael Moriarty, who's hired by the ice cream people as an industrial spy / saboteur to find out the secret of the stuff.
And,
along the way.
And he's called Mo because once you want him, you want Mo.
No, he's called Mo because once he gets a little money, he wants Mo money or something like that.
It's one of those things where, like Homer J. Simpson, where the J stands for something different every time.
Well, and he says it multiple times. Like it's hilarious. Anyway. Along his adventures, he meets Chocolate Chip Charlie, played by Garrett Morris, who, and the reason why he's involved, he's like famous Amos, like we said. I guess cookie sales are down initially, but what happens is his brothers, who own like the majority of the company somehow, I guess are taken over by the stuff and have basically fired him. Have sold his company out from under him. So now he's destitute. I don't know. So now he's pissed off. So he also wants to get revenge on the stuff as well. So they quickly team up without a word to say.
Honestly, that's another sign of corporate greed. He's angry that he ain't getting his money.
Right. Well, he, in his defense, he built up the company from scratch.
But if we look at the child that we meet later on and Michael Moriarty, their plan is to shut this business down for the sake of humanity. Garrett Morris is just pissed he got voted out of the company. Like right. Steve Jobs. Go call Steve Jobs and cry about that.
That's exactly right. We didn't even talk about the kid. So the kid who's really kind of the protagonist, he goes down at night to, I don't know, he had a bad dream, came down to get a midnight snack, opens up the fridge, and the stuff in its little like ice cream container is like sideways, like crawling out of the container, essentially.
Oh, that's
in the fridge.
That's like in the old Pee Wee's Playhouse. He would often go in the freezer and the vegetables would be dancing around at night.
Maybe that was the stuff as well. Who's to say?
Pee Wee Herman's on the stuff.
And I wrote this down, and we talked about this briefly. The father catches him downstairs and is literally enraged. What are you doing down here? Get back to bed. It was like child abuse. It was like, what is happening? What did he do that was so enraging?
I'm telling you, he startled Dad. Dad was in full whatever. They didn't have the internet then, but he was definitely down there doing some porno stuff and was startled when the child walked in. And then it's like, well, what did he see? So I'm going to freak out and scare him away.
Right. You're not watching porn on your Apple IIc or whatever it is. No, so who's to say?
Not when this was made. I mean... maybe he's on CompuServe and some guy in St. Petersburg is sending him, and he's waiting it to, what do they call it when he used to go line by line? He's waiting for the dot matrix image to print out.
Oh, right.
Before he can masturbate wildly in the kitchen.
Anticipation. So this kid is now the only one who won't eat the stuff.
Right.
Like his whole family is basically taken over by the stuff, trying to get him to do it, to the point where he pretends to eat it by actually really eating shaving cream.
Which was ridiculous. Why didn't you just walk out of the bathroom after you flushed it down and just say, that was delicious? Instead of eating shaving cream?
Which would not have the right texture, in my opinion, but who's to say? He literally goes to the supermarket and just wrecks it. Like the stuff is available on every shelf in every aisle. He's going wall to wall, just smashing it while the poor stock boys are chasing him around.
And you know what else bothered me? Why would there be restaurants if it's in every aisle in every supermarket? And why would they need to even advertise? There's no advertisements for crack cocaine, and people manage to get their hands on that.
That is true. Well, they talked about how, as you know, the Food and Drug Administration has to approve these products before they're available for regular sale, I guess. And they were all trying to figure out how it passed through the FDA so quickly. And the people who analyzed it disappeared, basically, except for crazy Danny Aiello and his dog. It was really a weird moment. So Michael Moriarty goes in to talk to Danny Aiello about how did this, pass through so quickly, blah, blah, blah. And Danny Aiello is like hiding under a desk and the dog is chasing him. Is the dog possessed or is he possessed? Or are they both possessed? What is happening?
Now, I watched this on some channel that had commercials. Did you not find that it was such a weird cut? 1 minute he's closing the door, the next minute he's climbing under the credenza.
Yes.
I was like, does the movie still keep playing while the commercial's going on? Did I miss something?
Right. So
That
it was
made
basically,
no sense.
yes, it was a bizarre cut. It was Michael Moriarty's interviewing him, but it's clear that Danny Aiello is afraid of the dog for whatever reason.
So
and Michael Moriarty kind of...
Look at that.
Right.
out of your house and call the pound.
Well, and Danny Aiello says that he feeds the stuff to his dog. And I guess it's kind of a joke because the dog's like terrorizing him later after Michael Moriarty has left. And I guess they're now out of the stuff. And that's why the dog is so angry. And he's like, I'll get more. I'll get more.
And then the dog barfs all over him.
Well, this happens multiple times. If you eat enough of the stuff, sometimes the stuff just crawls out of your mouth from time to time. A big old white blob splashes out. Who the hell knows? We never see Danny Aiello again, so it's hard to know what happened.
So when the blob jumps out of you and it's on the move, then it's more like the other blob, like the old Blob movie. So now it's like it can be hard. It can seal your nose and mouth. You got to chip it off. You got to light it on fire. When your friend's covered with it, you light it on fire to get it off.
Yes, we have to talk about this. But you're right when you say that. There are multiple times where it goes from we're eating it to don't even touch it. Don't let it touch you. Like it's the blob, like it'll burn your flesh or whatever. But later in the movie, Michael Moriarty meets up with the lady who was in charge of the advertising campaign.
Okay, I had a question. Sorry to interrupt you, sir, but
go for it.
So you're investigating what's going on. What is the stuff? So your first point of contact is to find the photographer for the ad campaign because she has the secrets.
Well, she was more than just the photographer. She was like the director of the commercials, right? She was the
do you think that for Tums, whoever's doing the advertising also gets a box with a special key and handcuff that tells you all the secrets that are in Tums?
No, you're right. You're right. I guess the idea behind it is they wanted somebody who was connected to the company. I'm talking about the writers now.
Right.
Wanted somebody who was connected to the company to work with Moriarty, but not somebody who is so connected to the company that why isn't she eating the stuff or why isn't she controlled by the stuff? But you're right. It makes she would have no special insight in the recipe of the stuff.
He could have gone to a bar, met someone, a chemist or whatever, as one in every episode of Law and Order. Because isn't that what you do? You set up a honey trap. And I mean, isn't this espionage 101?
Trap.
It's the Michael Moriarty honey trap.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. When you're Michael Moriarty, I don't know what kind of flies you're attracting with that honeypot.
He rolls in like American Gigolo to seduce all the female chemists.
That's how it works. Now, is it sexism that the writers didn't make her a chemist like you're suggesting and instead make her like kind of an advertising person?
Yes.
Yeah, clearly.
Because women can't be chemists, but maybe they can be photographers, although, quite frankly, they're almost all men too.
That is sad but true. So she's on board. Now he's convinced her that they're up to no good. So they're kind of fuzzy on that because it seems like he's trying to convince her to come work for his company. Like he's pretending to be like a CEO of some other company.
Right.
And she's like, let's go get dinner. Or he says, let's have dinner and we'll continue to discuss. And she's like, well, is there a restaurant at your hotel?
Uh-oh.
Wink, wink, if you know what I'm saying. So I guess the honey trap is working. She was ready for business.
That's me too, brother. That's me too.
She was literally like, you know what? Everybody take 5. I'll be back later. Let's go to the hotel room.
Let's get it on.
Sweet Lord.
Yeah, everybody else is still working. They're like, peace.
They bail. So later in the movie, they are in a hotel room, but it's hard to tell if there's any kind of romance going on because they're both kind of fully clothed, sharing the same bed.
And there's absolutely nothing sexual about this weird redheaded Michael Moriarty. Not that there was anything sexual about Michael Moriarty at his prime in Law and Order either.
It was.
I believe it is the opposite of sex.
Well, it was like they made this decision to kind of walk this line.
I thought you were going to defend the sexiness of Michael Moriarty.
Oh, you've come to the wrong place if that's what you're looking for. When they replaced Michael Moriarty with Sam Waterston, the sexiness factor increased by 10 at least.
Agreed. Sam Waterston was in like Gatsby.
Well, there you go. Anywho, so they're in a hotel room together. Again, the producers of the show, the writers of the show, made this weird decision where it's like they're almost acting like an old married couple, where it's like we're sharing the same bed, but there's no like chemistry between us. We're not like we can't keep our hands off each other. We're just kind of hanging out together. It was a weird choice to make, to say the least. Is that a Michael Moriarty thing, where it's just like, hey, this is what you get. This is all the sex appeal I can possibly dredge up. Who's to say? Anywho, while they're like going to sleep in this bed, the stuff bursts out of a pillow, crawls out of the pillow, and proceeds to attack them.
That was pretty good though. When it was like pinning him to the wall with a seamed fluffer nutter or whatever.
It was literally just the weird fluff all over, and it sticks itself to his face, so now he can't breathe. I guess.
Yeah, it's like Alien. It's like the finger thing.
It's like Alien. So she's like, "How am I going to do this?" She looks around and finds an old oil lamp. What is this, Little House on the Prairie? Why is there an old oil lamp?
Because they were at Atlas Hall Ranch, of course. It's a dude ranch, clearly. That hotel was $1,000 a night. Woo!
Easy.
He's a high roller.
So she takes the oil from the oil lamp and pours it all over the stuff, which again is stuck to Michael Moriarty's face. And she lights it. So now his head's on fire.
She figures 2 birds, 1 stone.
There was no hesitation either. She's not like, I don't know, this is such a good idea. She was drenching him in this stuff. Luckily, it worked. How would this work? He would have horrible facial burns.
Of course.
Anyway, he would gone up like a Roman candle. That would have been the end of Michael Moriarty. Very sad. At that point, you might just choose to be infected by the stuff rather than being lit on fire like Salem's witch trials or something. Very sad. Earlier in the movie, the Stuffies, and I wrote down, are they zombies? Because it's hard to know what they're doing. They walk around like zombies, but they don't
do anything.
I don't know. They don't seem to do much. I mean, occasionally they'll throw up the stuff on you. Occasionally.
Yeah.
Chocolate Chip Charlie and Michael Moriarty are using Kung Fu to defend themselves against the Stuffies. So that was interesting.
Well, and what's interesting is we don't know what the end game is. I mean, with the Borg, you understand that there's this order, assimilate. So is this just like a basic kind of just must replicate forever until we take over the world and then we die? What we don't know.
I mean, I guess
we don't know if this is terrestrial or extraterrestrial. We don't know the purpose. We just know don't eat it.
Right. I mean, I guess what you needed is to have one of the CEOs be under the control of the stuff, and then kind of have that James Bond villain moment where he sits down Michael Moriarty and explains their objective.
Like on James Bond, instead of petting the white cat, he has like a lump of the goo that is purring. It's like the Tribble, like whispering to him.
Is that too much to ask?
That's how I would have done it. And a pinky ring. Right. They need to have pinky rings. That's the sign of pure evil.
That is the sign of pure evil. I think in any walk of life, if you wear a pinky ring, you are evil. I think we can all agree on that.
On a side note, a friend of mine who's now married to this person, so we won't name names. Well, I'm about to anyway. When she was dating me, had a pinky ring, and his initials were JV. I'm like, oh, is that your JV ring? He's like, no, that's my name. I'm like, oh. Still a pinky ring.
That reminds me of, did you ever see The Color of Money with Paul Newman and Tom Cruise? It was like about playing pool.
That second name is what probably drove me away.
Your madness. Anyway, his character's name was Vince, and he'd constantly wear a t-shirt that said the word Vince across it. So,
oh my God,
it's the exact same thing.
I hate it like on TV shows when they, or like Mrs. Clinton, where you just have this uniform. Like I used to watch it's not Tool Time, but what was the name of that show?
Home Improvement.
Tim Allen had to wear some stupid hockey jersey every single day. It's like the Cosby sweater. It's like like Hillary Clinton in her pantsuits. I hate the idea that these people just give themselves uniforms. It's so boring.
It's very offensive.
I find it
very
offensive. That's why she lost. It was because of the pantsuits.
The pantsuits?
It was old.
Later in the movie, we meet Paul Sorvino, which was also shocking that he's in this movie.
And all I thought about was his poor daughter who got blacklisted by Harvey Weinstein. And I kept thinking, how come Paul couldn't help her?
And if you look, Mira Sorvino is in this movie as well. She has like a cameo in this.
Well, thank
you,
out, Paulie, for putting your daughter in there, because I always liked Mira Sorvino.
She's great. But so anyway, Paul Sorvino is like the colonel of some kind of private militia that he runs out of Georgia or something. It was like, what in the hell is this place?
And then they wanted to be racist, but like a stern look, and then he's not racist.
Oh, he was pretty damn racist.
But then
he was about to shoot Garrett Morris.
He was going to shoot Garrett Morris, and then after like what amounted to a sentence, it's all good. My racism is cured. Back to the bunker
if you
in
try
Idaho.
Not cured. He says if you speak any communist propaganda or speak in code, I will blow your head off, is what he says to Garrett Morris.
I think that applies to anyone who wants to speak the Communist Manifesto to them.
Pretty much. So, but it was like a bizarre Deus Ex Machina, if you know what that means, where it's basically like
movie? Quit speaking Latin to me, you son of a...
In the theater, a Deus Ex Machina is when kind of an unforeseen helper appears. Basically, it's like in Moliere's Tartuffe, for example.
Oh, don't start bringing up Moliere after you shut down my Wings of Desire. If we're gonna get Artie McFarty, it's on. Bring it on, brother.
We're not going to devote an episode to Tartuffe by Moliere, but I just thought I'd mention it. In that one, for example, it's like, oh my God, how are we going to solve this problem? And then the letter comes in from the king saying, oh, it's all good.
So
that's a Deus Ex Machina.
So Deus is God, right?
Right.
Is it Machina machine? The God machine?
Yeah, it's like the machine of God or something like that, where it's basically like, instead of solving the problem in a normal narrative way, at the 11th hour, something unforeseen will come in and just solve the problem for you.
All right.
Basically. So it's like, what are we going to do? It's just me, you, and the little kid who I've abducted and taken over state lines, which I believe is federal offense, by the way. And how are we going to stop this big corporation? The 11th hour, they're like, oh, that's right. I know this wealthy colonel in Georgia who has his own personal army that I'll be able to go meet with in 5 seconds, and he'll be on my side and will help me fight the stuffies.
Kevin, is this like back in the old days when you could only get Coors beer in a certain area? I just assume the stuff was international. And again, why is not the government involved? Just the Ruby Ridge is involved, but not and corporate America? Is it because the lobbyists have paid off all our people?
They said that basically they were either bribed or turned by the stuff. The people at the Food and Drug Administration. And Chocolate Chip Charlie was supposed to go get the feds. When they split up, he's like, I'm going to go investigate in Midville, Georgia. You go to the FBI and get help. And then later when Charlie arrived,
he just didn't.
And then he did. And Michael Moriarty was just like, hey, where was the FBI? He kind of says something along those lines to Garrett Morris later. So it's kind of like, which kind of tips off what eventually goes down. But luckily, the militia leader, they invade the factory, they blow it up, all that good stuff. They go on a local Atlanta radio station to tell people not to eat the stuff anymore, and people don't. They're like, okay, I was addicted yesterday. Today, I'm out.
Wait, crack is whack? Well, I didn't know that. I'm just gonna stop.
Crack is whack. That was the slogan back in 1987. Oh, sweet Jesus. But so then Chocolate Chip Charlie shows up at the radio station like we were talking about. All alone, no FBI agents with him. And that's when we discover old Chocolate Chip has also been infected with this stuff. And this was an iconic scene, I remember, in the commercials. So it was almost kind of like a spoiler alert in the commercials. You see him kind of spazzing out at the radio station on the commercials. So he, I wrote this down. The horrible special effects, it goes from normal Garrett Morris kind of spazzing to smash cut to crazy fake Garrett Morris opening his mouth all crazy wide. Does not remotely resemble Garrett Morris. You didn't like the special effects of The Thing. These are the special effects you should be complaining about.
I thought these, are you kidding me? These are better than The Thing. And what's always fascinating to me, the victim always just is mesmerized by the werewolf, the monster's transformation, where they just sit and stare at them until it can finally turn into whatever creature to assault them. If your head starts bubbling, Kevin, peace in the Middle East. I'll drop a 911 on my way out to the door. But if your jaw starts opening up like you may swallow me whole, out. Doherty out. Your wife and children are fending for themselves, 911.
He'll drop a 911 as you run for the car.
As soon as I hit the car, I'll push the little button and I'll say, call 911. And then immediately won't know what I'm saying. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Call 911. I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I don't understand. Fucking Toyota.
And by then it's too late. Well, I think he grabs her. But it's like she should have been killed, right? Because it was literally like squirting at her from 6 inches away. But evidently, no. Nothing's on her. And then that's when Michael Moriarty like snaps some cables from the radio station, tries to like electrocute it and cause
that seems dangerous.
The most ridiculous special effects. Like they were like trying to break the glass, but it was like clearly like done in post with crappy special effects. It was like, what is happening? It's anarchy at the end. Garrett Morris, poor Garrett Morris. This was like the last thing I saw him in, I swear to God, for about 20 years.
Yeah.
Very sad. So, any last thoughts and feelings about the stuff?
Well, there was one. Some of the commercials, the commercials for the stuff were hysterical. With Abe Vigoda, special cameo appearance. You got half the Godfather in this movie. And the lady from Where's the Beef, who is now just saying,
Where's the stuff?
Where's the stuff? Is she married to Abe Vigoda?
She could only hope at that stage again.
Honestly,
it's a sad situation.
I stopped writing after Michael Moriarty. I wrote, I'm going to light your face on fire. I wrote, Abe Vigoda, light your face on. And and why give the secret? Why give the secret the tape? Why give the secret? Did they give the secret?
No, I don't think they did, right? It's all a mystery.
So it seems to me at the very end, they discover the source of the stuff. They're pumping it into... Oh, wait, I got something else to say. That kid who crawls into a tanker and thinks that's a good idea. He deserves to get eaten by the stuff. I would have left him in there. That's one of those Darwin Award situations. And then two... Michael Moriarty travels with C4. So then he like threw a bunch of dirt on top of this, the source of the stuff. And then that's it.
That's all it takes. Well, they say like, hey, we're going to bubble up. We bubble up all over the place is kind of like the warning. So beware. And then at the end of the movie, they basically say that they're coming back with the taste, which is only 12% of the stuff. So just enough to make it horribly addictive.
Crack light.
Crack light.
And then they crumble up some chocolate chip cookies on it.
Why not? Sounds delicious to me. And then, of course, at the end, we realize that there's still a black market for this stuff. People are meeting in alleys, like vans pulling up, Give me that good uncut stuff. That's what I
It
want.
was classic.
Sad
I would
situation.
say, because they're playing it straight, it is kind of funny, but it almost feels like they didn't mean it to be funny because they played it so seriously. I mean, it's not my favorite movie, but it's amusing. It's not scary. You can watch it with your family. It's a fun time, but it's definitely not scary. There's a couple of gross moments. There's definitely some editing issues with strange gaps.
Oh, yeah.
Strange gaps and unexplained things. You don't know what the stuff is. You don't know why it's there. I don't know.
Right. Where did it come from?
I wanted the Borg cube to rise up out, and then the Borg lady with her moist skin to come out laughing.
Why not? Add it in.
It makes just as much sense.
Well, and it's kind of like we said, it's not even remotely scary. And I think, obviously the subject matter is kind of wacky, but it's also like Michael Moriarty never seems that concerned about it.
No.
At all, as he's allegedly the only person standing in the way of the stuff taking over the world. The kid tries to give us, concern, but I mean, he ain't, Dustin Hoffman or somebody. He's just doing his best. He's like an 8-year-old kid.
He was an odd-looking kid. He had like these dark eyebrows with these super light eyes. It looked like he was wearing eyeliner.
Well, and that his brother was really his brother, because they were the only two people that they could find with the same crazy eyes.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what it looked like. The dad dad made no sense. He was always just angry and crazy. The mom was weird. The brothers are weird. Everybody's weird, but that's okay.
Well, because he was trying to tell his parents, you can't eat it because it's alive. And the father's response was, well, in bread, they use yeast, and yeast is alive. And in yogurt, they have, cultures that's alive. So
this is implying that Dad knows part of the secret. Dad knows it's alive, because why would you? That would be an odd comment to make otherwise.
Well, because he is possessed at this point. So that's what comes back to, when you are possessed, do you know things?
Yes. So if I tied you down like that half zombie movie, when you have the half zombie lady.
Right. Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead. When you could ask her any question about going on and she knows. So if you can tie down one of the stuffies and keep them from vomiting all over you, will they then reveal secrets?
That's a question. We may never know the answer until Stuff 2 comes out someday.
50 years later.
Are you ready for behind the scenes?
Oh, please.
Okay, the scene where the stuff kind of shoots out of the pillow and then is like creeping up the bed.
I like that.
They use the same room and the same rig from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, good.
Where Johnny Depp was pulled into the bed and the blood squirts out. So exact same thing. Where the whole bed, the room
on
turns.
The ceiling. They've been using that effect since like the 40s and 50s for dance movies and stuff like that.
Right. According to the writer/director Larry Cohen, in some scenes where the stuff chases characters, the stuff was made of a foam made of blended fish bones, and it stank so much that as soon as the shots were done, the actors ran to a river in order to bathe and get rid of the smell.
Oh God, really? That's what you came up with? Well, I found this a recipe for special effects, but it involves smelling like the Salton Sea.
Evidently, it's cheap. Well, they used all sorts of crazy stuff for this stuff. They used real Haagen-Dazs ice cream, yogurt. They used fire extinguishing foam. Then they also used they said they used animation on some scenes that's pretty obvious.
Clearly.
Kind of animation. Because remember, there's that one bubbling lake of it where it's just like weird shapes are forming in it. And
that's where I thought that they were the aliens and they were just sitting in their own filth, just shitting away, and that's what we're eating. I thought that was going to be the big reveal. That we're just eating alien excrement.
Well, who's to say? Could be. the director writer talked about how his main inspiration was consumerism and corporate greed,
Okay.
and about how Americans every day eat fast food and junk food that's clearly bad for us, and we do it anyway.
Right.
So
And we're addicted.
very sad.
What was the
Yep.
crazy McDonald's show where the guy ate all the McDonald's and apparently was having...
Oh, Supersize
Remember that?
Me.
He was like, I'm having organ failure or something. It was so ridiculous.
Right. Well, yes. Supersize Me is great because he talked to, before he did this, he talked to a bunch of doctors. They said, you'll gain some weight and probably won't be as healthy as you were before. But you're right. If you just eat McDonald's food 3 times a day for however long, like literally, it's really bad for you. Like it is organ failure bad for you.
Ridiculous. Then someone came out with the McDonald's diet, how you're actually healthier. Actually, some of the stuff he did was pretty contrived. I'm like, really? You made these arbitrary rules. I'm going to supersize it whenever they ask. I have to eat the same shittiest thing. I mean, in reality, you could have ordered a salad one day. It doesn't have to be, it's set up to fail. I'm not saying McDonald's is healthy. McDonald's food is garbage for sure.
Right. Well, you're right. You could have said something like that, like you have to have a salad once a day or whatever. But I think he was talking about is like as you were eating it, because it's sugary and salty and all those good things, fatty, that you're into it. You're loving it when you're eating it. It is until later that you're like, ugh.
100%.
It's
it's
a
one
sad
of those
situation.
foods that when and it depends how much you've eaten and all of this, but it is one of those things that tastes amazing while you're doing it, and then a little while later, especially if you're not used to eating fast food. Like I don't eat a lot of things with sugar. I don't eat fried things, so when I do, it always tastes great, and then you feel terrible, but you're not used to that.
For real.
And he was like a freaking vegan or something ridiculous before that. So, of course.
Well, I think he said his girlfriend was a vegan, and being with her, he found that he often just ate the same stuff she ate. So that caused the issues. Yeah. They interviewed Garrett Morris years later about this. He called the production crazy. And when they talked about the director, because Larry Cohen is kind of a reputation as a character.
That means
Morris
psychopath.
Right. Garrett Morris basically said, I was taught growing up that if you don't have something nice to say about someone, don't say anything at all.
Very nice.
Is all he would
say.
Good
man.
Yeah, very sad. I think that's about it. Anything else? Yeah, there was a big scandal, I guess, because when the special effects companies turned in their special effects for the movie, Larry Cohen was not thrilled with it, so he only was going to pay them half.
Ooh.
And it became it went to court and all this stuff, and I guess the judge ruled in his favor because they didn't have like signed contracts or whatever.
Oh.
Very sad.
Yeah,
Larry Cohen.
I don't know why people don't work with contracts, because I was watching the Movies That Made Us about Ghostbusters, and Bill Murray doesn't sign contracts and only gives vague reassurances that he'll show up. And they were talking about everybody, like even my favorite movie, Lost in Translation, with Sofia Coppola. He said terrible things about her, and until the day before shooting, she wasn't sure if he was going to show up. Even with Ghostbusters, these are all his friends. They weren't sure.
Right. No, yeah, with Bill Murray, you never know. You have to just proceed as if he's going to, and then cross your fingers. So that's just how he rolls.
And Bill Murray is in the new Wes Anderson also. And that's all I thought about it. Did he just show up like a day before in France? Or maybe arrived and went straight from the airport to the set?
Wouldn't shock me. Larry Cohen originally wanted to cast Arsenio Hall as Chocolate Chip Charlie, who Arsenio was not. I mean, this is before Coming to America. This is obviously before the Arsenio Hall show and all that stuff. He was just kind of an up and coming actor, comedian type. But the studio made him cast Garrett Morris because he'd be more recognizable.
Well, and on top of that, Garrett Morris does look more like Famous Amos. He just needed the gray beard.
Well, and he's older.
Yeah.
I mean, Garrett Morris is probably pushing 50
Yeah.
at this point. Whereas Arsenio, I mean, would have been maybe late 20s. So it's a different thing. Larry Cohen says that the original cut of the film was more dense and sophisticated. And they cut.
Oh, but it was a work of art
Shocking.
until the studio got their hands on it.
They cut it down to increase the pace of the film, and one of the things that was cut was a romantic scene that took place between Moriarty and the lady.
Please tell me I was going to have to see Michael Moriarty's ass. Oh, come on.
It was going to be a 20-minute
20-minute montage.
A 20-minute sex montage where it's just close-ups of Michael Moriarty's bare bum.
And
very sad.
And they incorporate the stuff in their lovemaking.
That's correct. That's lube. One of the movies playing at the Starcourt Mall during the third season of Stranger Things was The Stuff.
Okay.
And a plot point of characters compulsively eating something and turning into mindless zombies is shared in season 3 of Stranger Things as well.
Okay.
So there you go. One more thing I wanted to say. Michael Moriarty and Paul Sorvino went on to appear in 31 episodes of Law & Order together from 1991-92 as Executive ADA Ben Stone and Sergeant Phil Soretta, respectively.
Honestly,
so there you go.
I mean, Law & Order has been on for 10,000 years. When I was in Italy, I remember one evening I was hanging clothes like on the back patio, and it was in a courtyard, and all I could hear out of every window was dum-dum.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that show is nuts because it's literally like, I mean, the cast, I mean, there have been like 40-something cast changes on that show, something ridiculous.
And then it breaks into 1,000 pieces. I mean, SVU, how is it how many different sex crimes can there be?
I always call it Law and Order SWV or SUV. Who the hell knows?
It's about a talking SUV. That's what it is.
That's right. And then what is it? There's Law and Order Criminal Intent. I don't even know what that one's about. I think it's with.
I got it all down. So you're gonna take Ice-T, and he's in a talking SUV, and that's his partner. It's the new episode. It's the new series.
It's like Knight Rider.
Oh my god! Law and Order was so popular. There was an LA version. Then there's a British version of it, and it's played on the UK.
Is it really?
Law and Order. Well, it was advertised here as Law and Order UK, so BBC America would show that version of Law and Order too.
That's anarchy.
Anarchy in the UK.
Shall we talk about the cast? We have.
I think we did. You got a secret that I don't know?
Michael Moriarty played Mo Rutherford. You know him from Courage Under Fire, Law and Order, Pale Rider with Clint Eastwood. Andrea Marcovici played Nicole, who was the advertising person.
Right.
You know her from Space Hunter.
Space Hunter.
The Concorde.
Oh my God. Is
Good
that an
times.
Irwin
Anyway.
Allen classic?
I think it might be. Garrett Morris, of course, Saturday Night Live. He was also in Coneheads, How High, and he was a cab driver in Ant-Man,
Okay.
which I do not remember. He was also, you know what he was on? He was on Martin, that show with Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, I used to
and
watch
he was
that.
more
Mom,
recently.
Dad!
He was also in Two Broke Girls. That was a more recent.
I'm not watching
sitcom he was
that
available.
bullshit. But yeah, his star
You're
didn't
watching
really
it.
take off, did it?
Which is really sad. It's like certain people from those early Saturday Night Lives went on to do good things, like Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase. Other people, Lorraine Newman, Garrett Morris, just kind of fizzled.
Yeah.
It's very sad. No offense if you're listening. Paul Sorvino, you know him from The Rocketeer, Goodfellas, Nixon, Repo, The Genetic Opera. Good
my
Lord, he's all
God.
over the place. And father of Mira Sorvino, as you know.
Mhm.
Good times. I think that's about it. Should we talk about our rating?
All right.
Well, first, hang on.
All right.
The Stuff currently has a 71% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. However, the audience score, 45%. So I have to see if there's any top critics or if it's just QAnon Weekly.
Roger Ebert, what's he say?
Let's see. I'm sure he did not check this one out. Hang on. Here we go. Roger Ebert gave it 1.5 out of 4 stars. This Stuff is a wildly ambitious movie that fails because it forgets to attend to its bottom line. Before you can make a clever, funny, satirical horror film, first you have to make a horror film. So,
I think
sad
Rotten
situation.
Tomatoes is about right. I think that seems reasonable.
71?
Yeah, that sounds about a C.
Yeah, I give it that. So what's your rating? Lay it on me.
All right. So I am going to give it 2 3/4 cups of the stuff lit on fire on Michael Moriarty's weird red hair.
Good thinking. I think I'm going to give it 3.5 20-minute sex montages of Michael Moriarty's butt out of 5. It's fun. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination. It could definitely be better. It's more just.
It's just
I'm trying to think how to describe it.
goofy.
It's goofy. It's goofy. It's such a bizarre
80s.
idea. Yeah, no question.
It's the friendly
Any last
blob.
thoughts?
It's a friendlier version of the Blob. And
It's a friendlier blob.
your school-age children will be so bored they'll immediately pick up their phones. So just sharing that.
Well, they'll immediately pick up their school books instead of watching this movie with
Mommy,
you. Sad
can
to say.
I please just go read my math book instead of watching this?
Can I just finish my homework,
Leave me
please?
alone.
So there you have it. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Email us at thepodcastthatwouldn'tdie at Gmail. Aaron, we're on the Insta.
We're on the Insta, and now I forgot what I was going to say. We are the podcast that wouldn't die.
There you have it. Good times. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Good Pods. And anywhere else the finer podcasts are available. So make sure that you like, share, rate, and review, won't you?
No, not just rate.
Now, Aaron-
It needs to be a 5-star rating, or just keep your fingers in your pocket.
I was talking to somebody about this on Twitter because we shockingly have one-star review with no
Explanation.
review that goes with it. No explanation. It's like, give me a "you guys suck" or something. Don't just ghost me with a 1-star and then mambo out the back door. Don't do me like that.
Yeah, at least put, I don't like you because you look like your breath stink. I don't like you because this, that, or another thing. If you're going to give us a 1-star, at least say whatever the hell is up your button died.
Constructive criticism is what we're looking for. Aaron, you are also on social media personally. Lay it on me.
I am the Cult of Aaron on the Insta. Join the cult. What am I? I think I'm the Cult of Aaron on the Twitski also.
I think you're right.
I'm also...
No personal messages to Aaron, though. She does not appreciate it.
Don't DM me. Don't DM me. There's no secret.
Don't do it.
There's no secret that you and I share. Just put it on the worldwide Twitter.
Right. If you can't say it to everybody, just don't say it.
There you go.
Is a good advice for us all.
That's a life lesson, Kevin. That's a life lesson.
Next week, we'll be reviewing the science fiction new classic, perhaps? Dune! Starring Tiffany Chalamet. What's his name? Timothy Chalamet. One of the Chalamets. Josh Brolin. You got Oscar Isaacs. You got, Who else?
Everyone and
It's an
Jesus,
all-star cast.
and little baby Jesus. And I think your main character was also in my Royal Tannenbaums.
Was
Not
he?
Royal Tannenbaums.
Who was he in that?
Sorry, in my new The French Dispatch.
Oh, Chalamet.
Yeah.
He might
Yeah,
be.
he's in it.
Sadly, the only way to watch it is actually it might still be on HBO
No,
Max.
It
Is
is
it still on HBO?
HBO until the 21st. So, because I'm watching it today.
Okay, so you may be able to watch on HBO Max if you have HBO Max. Otherwise, you have to do what I did and ground you behind over to the theater and see it the way Jesus meant for it to be watched.
You're not wrong. I mean, it's nice to watch movies at home, but being in the theater yesterday, it's all immersive, it's all surrounding. I mean, you completely block out everything else. When you're at home, the phone rings, you got to pause it, you got to get up. It's not the same experience. I love the movies.
I love it. I mean, I'm going to the movies later today again. This is how I do, for goodness sake.
What are you going to go see now?
The Eternals, which is not getting good reviews.
Jesus
So we'll have to see how that goes.
Every jackass was going to go see that yesterday.
So, thank you very much. There'll be one more jackass today. And be well.
Whoop, whoop. Be good, people.